to Storyboard. I'm Shibani Gharat. In spite of persistent economic uncertainties and ongoing war, a series of controversies, cost of living crisis, big tech wars, we survived another year. And what a year it has been, full of ups and downs. But India did exceedingly well. We are not saying it, a lot of industry experts are. In this special episode, we are bringing you the best conversations that we have had in the year gone by and what global leaders had to say about the India market. First up, we have Nestle CEO Mark Schneider in this exclusive conversation. He speaks about his outlook on India and future-proofing brands and businesses and much more. And then we caught up with Mark Reed, CEO of the world's largest ad holding company, WPP, on the state of advertising, global economic uncertainties, client concerns. He said that he won't be surprised if one day India for WPP will overtake the UK market. Listen in.
So if I were to ask you, where do you see the India market in, say, 5 years' time? How would you put it?
Look, at the very least, I would tell you this is the Indian decade. You could also say it's the start of the Indian age. And you see a lot of the underlying strengths of this country coming to the forefront now and really building upon each other. You see tremendous growth momentum. And so we want to participate in that. I think we're a key part of it as a food and beverage player. And we've been in this country for so long, deeply ingrained in the social fabric of this country, that I think we stand to benefit from that momentum quite well.
Let me just go back to sort of a global picture question here. How has this year fared for Nestle so far? What would you say is your report card for the company?
I think it's a very strong year when it comes to organic growth, and that applies to Nestle India, but it also applies to our performance globally. Some of that is driven by global inflation and pricing, but we also see very strong underlying volume developments, especially here in India and some emerging markets. Very strong innovation momentum across the board. Innovation to me is the chief most sustainable growth driver in addition to population growth and economic development. And so very happy with the year. Obviously, when it comes to the global economic outlook, it's a difficult time, a choppy time. A time when management needs to be very hands-on and focused on day-to-day operations. And I think the team has done a stunning job, including here in India.
Let me just ask you to sort of dig into that a little bit and talk about some of the inflationary pressures that we're seeing globally.
Yeah.
How are you sort of working around that to sort of offset some of the issues that you will be facing in terms of rising input cost and keep away from hiking prices too much?
Yeah.
So let's get into that a little bit.
Absolutely. And the hallmark of what we call responsible pricing is very important to us. So rather than just trying to offload everything to the consumer, I think we're looking for internal efficiencies as much as we can. This is a global job, but it also applies to Nestle India. And we understand that affordability is a key aspect, especially in this country for vast areas of the population. And there's no point in engineering the perfect product that no one can afford. And so that's where product attributes and then affordability constantly need to be balanced. And I think we've done a very good job in that.
Can you give some insights on the India market? I believe it's one of your top 5 markets for WPP. So what excites you about the India market, Mark?
We have a great position in the market. In Srini, we have a really strong leader for our business, but we have strong people across our businesses, fantastic creative leaders like Piyush. And the work we do for clients is so impactful. I mean, I could go through the reasons to be proud. I mean, recently our foundation in India, and I visited it, one of the schools it funds, the last time I was there, was awarded an award, the best CSR foundation in the country. We're all tremendously proud of that. We're tremendously proud of the work that we do for our clients. The work we did for Mondelez in India won a titanium award in Cannes. So that's one of the most prestigious awards in our industry, a collaboration between Ogilvy and Wavemaker. It really shows. And what was interesting is it was an application of AI. to marketing. So we're showing how the combination of creativity and data and technology can produce fantastic ideas that can win on a world stage. Our business, interestingly, is 80% domestic. So many foreign companies that operate in India are serving a multinational world. We're not. We're serving multinational companies in India and many, many, many domestic companies in India, and that's fantastic as well. Look, I've learned a lot from many of the Indian business leaders. I've been lucky to meet Sanjeev Mehta for several occasions when I've been in the market, and he's been a fantastic client to us. And I think there's a tremendous amount we can learn from him and Indian business leaders as well. So look, I think the economic outlook for India is strong. It's probably been our best performing market globally for the last 10 years. And I think it's now our 5th or 6th biggest market in WPP. And if you said to me one day will it overtake the UK, it wouldn't surprise me.
What's the scene on the new business front? Are pitches happening as they used to prior to the pandemic? Do we expect more pitches in 2023, the large scale ones?
Well, look, I mean, we took part in the Coke pitch. I think probably the biggest review in our industry's history. I think we did close to 150 meetings, all of them remotely, all of them on video. So my observation would be first, the new business pipeline we have now is as strong as it was a year ago. If anything, just marginally stronger. Pitches are going back in person. So I'm a little bit disappointed by that. I liked the fact that we were working and pitching remotely. It saved a lot of money in airfares and was good for the planet as well. And I was talking to a colleague who's over on the west coast of America, and quite a few people have flown in for that meeting. So I'd like us to make sure we continue to use the sort of hybrid model of pitching as well. I think that's the way forward for our industry. But no, pitching is busy. The Coke pitch, I think they said they started maybe with 6,000 agencies. So there are big pitches underway. They may not all be public, but I think it's going to be a busy end to the year, and I think a busy 2023.
It is time for a short break. On the other side, we have our special chat with Ogilvy's Devika Bulchandani and IPG's Arun Kumar.
Make your dreams come true in the new year with Bank of India. Bank of India wishes all its customers, stakeholders and well-wishers a very happy and prosperous new year.
Bank of India. Relationship beyond banking.
Change is the only constant in today's world. To win in unpredictable markets, beat inflation, and protect your finances from geopolitical risks, you need to build a volatility-proof portfolio. And that's why we're back with Nawab and the Wizards. Watch Ramesh Damani in conversation with influential market veterans as they share their insights and analysis of the complex world order, the future of investing, and building a portfolio for an ever-changing world. Wizards of the Street at these times.
Being the father of 2 young daughters, and I want every daughter in this country to have same opportunities like we provide here at Network 18.
Future is hers. They are rewriting rules, reimagining equality, and redefining what power means.
So spread your wings, break the ceiling, create magic, most importantly, be yourself.
A mega initiative to make gender parity an attainable reality. HSBC presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective.
Welcome back. In the year gone by, Devika Bulchandani, global CEO of WPP, became the first ever woman of color to run a global agency network. I caught up with her to find out what it means to join the club of Indian origin business leaders at the helm of big multinational corporations. And then IPG's Arun Kumar warns marketing will become the next tobacco unless the industry speaks up in this candid conversation. Devika, you have joined the elite club of the Indian origin global CEOs, and not just that, one of the few women CEOs in the industry. How does that feel?
It obviously feels very good, but it also is a big responsibility, right? So there's a personal feeling, and then there's also the feeling of those that are looking at you. And I have a really nice story from the other day. I was walking in the hallway here at Ogilvy in New York, and a young girl walked up to me and she said, "You're Devika, right?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I just want to tell you on behalf of all of us Desi girls, this means so much to me. And it just looking at you gives me so much hope." And that moment for me was just such a powerful moment. And then another woman walked in, she's from Delhi, and she said, "Devika, I just want to tell you, my parents are talking about you. And they're calling me and saying, oh my God, there's a Indian woman CEO, and that means so much." And when I thought about just both those things, it made me realize how powerful it is to see somebody like you in positions and how much hope it gives people. So yes, it feels very good on a personal level, but it also feels really good when I think about the responsibility of it and what it says to other Indian women, other women of color, other people who don't look like a majority in any community.
Yeah, and as you said, it gives hope that, something like this is, possible, is attainable. Devika, also, I was going through a couple of your interviews, and in one of them, you said that you are the fearless girl, which has also been one of your unique campaigns. The Statue of the Fearless Girl, as we know, sends a message about workplace gender diversity and equality. You are Amritsar born, schooled, at Welham in Dehradun, and graduated from St. Xavier's in Mumbai. So share with us your journey so far in advertising and what, according to you, were the key milestones in this journey, Devika?
When I started in advertising, I was one of the few Indian people. And actually, I would say few non-white American or English or Australian people. This whole industry is really sort of dominated by those three cultures. And if you think about what we do in advertising, we create culture. We tell stories about what's happening in the world and how people want to evolve their lives and what it is that they need. And when I came here, in my first few meetings, I was like, I don't know anything about American culture. I didn't know what an Oreo cookie was. I was in a meeting about Oreos, and I was like, what is an Oreo? And then you hear famous things like Coke's Hilltop ad, and you hear about, Tiger in the Tank. These are real sort of iconic advertising slogans. And I was like, I don't know any of that. I don't know what it means. I don't understand it. I didn't feel it. So it took me a really long time to actually feel like I belonged. And the only time I felt I belonged is when I started accepting American culture as my own. And I have to say, as Indians, we have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. When we come here, we always think, Indian culture, we're very proud, we know better. But it took a little humility for me to say, I need to actually step out of my, all the things that I've been programmed to do and actually learn and have an open mind. And that was a very pivotal moment in my career when I acknowledged to myself that I needed to learn and that I needed to be open to another culture, because I wasn't initially. I would say the first 7 years, I was very guarded. So that was one pivotal moment. And, after that, obviously, I've had many different sort of moments, but the other pivotal moment I'd say is I was trained as a strategist. And then in one meeting, my CEO at McCann, he called me after a meeting and said, "What do you want to do in your life?" And I was like, what do I want to do in my life? I didn't understand. I was like, is this an existential question? And I said, I don't understand what you're asking. Finally, after having this really awkward meeting. And he said, what I'm saying to you is you need to run something. So that transition from being a strategist, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly and I carry it with me all throughout, to actually running something, running a P&L, being responsible, was a very, very important and pivotal moment. And one that I cannot thank Harris enough for, and two that I have absolutely enjoyed, because I think when you have the true responsibility and accountability for a business is when you can make true change and impact.
Data privacy has become like a hotly debated topic. What can be a simple solution, according to you, which can prove to be a win-win both for the consumer and the brands and the marketer, Arun?
I think there needs to be a common set of standards. So the best industry I would look at is the telecom industry. When you pick up your cell phone and you say, I'm going to make a phone call, you don't really worry about whether the recipient has the same phone brand, has the same network, has the same carrier. You really don't care. Why? Because there is a common set of standards. If you're on 4G, everybody is adhering to it. It doesn't matter what carrier you have. If you were to transplant the digital ecosystem onto telecom, what it means is you can take out your phone. If your phone and the other person's phone is different, it won't connect. There is no common standard, etc., etc. First thing to do is to set common standards. And those standards cannot be set up by Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, etc. They need to be set up by a wide body of experts who are technically proficient and who are not pushed by any vested interests. There can't be different versions of privacy. You can't have Apple saying, I'm going to obfuscate this information, and somebody else saying, I'm not going to obfuscate it. There needs to be a common understanding of that. Second, I think advertising increasingly in many markets, people have started, it's almost in the position of where tobacco was years ago. And it always astounds me that people look at advertising and marketing in that same light. There's this belief, and even in regulatory circles in the Western countries, influence has been used as a word conjointly with manipulation. So advertising is seen as manipulation rather than an expression of free speech of a brand to say you need to buy me as opposed to somebody else. Part of the fault is a lot of marketers don't really talk about what they do and why it's valuable. But I think any law that comes up, first of all, there should be national laws. There shouldn't be state-wise laws. And so I'm very happy that India is looking at a national federal law. And there need to be some standards that balance both interests, which is you need to define what are sensitive data types that are off the table. What are the data sets that people can use and how can they use it? Some principles like saying, okay, do people know how this data is being used? Yes. Legitimate interest should be legitimized because businesses need to know certain pieces of information in order to service consumers. You can't make it all conditional on consent, because how many times is a consumer going to give consent and to how many people? And by the way, any law should be cognizant of one thing that most people forget. Marketing is one of the key factors that funds democracy. So if you unpack that, think about the free press. Subscription revenues do not drive the free press. If you want a multiplicity of opinions, the multiplicity of opinions has to be funded. It's funded by advertising. So if you remove the ability to do precision targeting or for us to understand the value of online news sites or what's happening online, and if we go back to the 1960s, like Tim Cook claims is a great era, a number of these online sites are going to die. They just aren't going to get the funding. That means many opinions in the niche are just going to die out. That's going to fundamentally impact democracy. That's the first thing. The second point, all these regulations mean that companies have to spend a lot of money on compliance. In fact, there are almost billions of dollars that have been spent in the US around just the CCPA, which is the California Protection Act, for them to actually be compliant with that. Who do you think is paying the price for it? Do you think companies are not passing the price back to consumers? Yeah. Suppose if I told you in this inflationary time that your grocery bill has just gone up by 5%, because of the privilege of not having your cookies shared elsewhere, isn't that a choice you should make? Whether I want to pay 5% more or whether I'm okay with the data being shared. So I think there's a lot of lack of transparency from people who are demanding transparency. The privacy activists don't talk about the economic cost, the jobs that will be lost, the fact that marketing drives a lot of the opinions that exist in a democracy. This idea that it's all manipulation and influence. Again, you have to specify use cases. And by the way, if we go back, it all started with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, and it blew up because it had to do with politics. So let me ask you this question. Has political advertising escaped in the Western world? No. Has the ability of hackers to get your data gone down? No. Has government surveillance gone down? No. So none of the laws that have been constructed have actually focused on the problems that started the conversation. And instead have increased the cost to consumers and are painting marketing as a bad act. The problem is that our marketers are not standing up and being heard. I mean, we're there in many regulatory bodies around the world. We've actually even testified in front of the Senate in the US. We were the only people to do that from any holding company. We didn't find any advertisers around us. So a lot of these, so my plea to marketers always is, if you don't stand up and talk about the value of marketing, people are going to dub you the next tobacco.
It is time for a short break. On the other side, we have Ashmita Dubey, Global Chief Digital and Marketing Officer at L'Oreal, and Avas Media Group's Global CEO, Peter Mears, catching up with us on their visit to India. Welcome back. In a recent conversation with us, Ashmita Dubey, Global Chief Digital and Marketing Officer at L'Oreal, spoke about the key shifts in consumer trends. How is L'Oreal creating online and offline experiences and future-proofing its brands? And in an exclusive chat with us, Avas Media Group's Global CEO, Peter Mears, says India can grow to be the third largest market in the world by 2030. Commenting on the transformation of its India operations over the past 3-4 years, Mears said that Avas Group's India management team has done a great job in attracting new and different capability partners into the family, which has helped the company's client relationships.
What are you focused on, and what are some of the key trends for 2023?
I think we think a lot that today, the way the world is, we have to move at the speed of culture. You know, and when we say that we have to move at the speed of culture, because so much is changing around us. You spoke about the pandemic. So post-pandemic, there is a social and relationship reset. A lot of people are thinking that we need to move from casual to close relationship, quantity to quality in terms of relationship, and that impacts the way they are interacting. That impacts the ecosystem in which we are playing. So I'm coming a bit to the digital side of it. There are almost 5 billion people that are online. Yeah, and India has more than 800 million people who are online. So the social ecosystems are changing now because of the social reset that has happened. Then there is the Gen Z. And Gen Z, and from their point of view, what matters most to them. So what matters to them is authenticity, proximity. They are hanging out more in the metaverse on the other side. Gaming is growing a lot. There is the social concern in terms of sustainability, radical inclusivity. So all these are consumer trends, and at the same time, there is a need for a personalized, relevant, individual, unique beauty in each one of us. And what we do today in beauty tech and with the data and AI allows us to offer that to our consumers.
Very exciting. And India, given the digital boom that we are seeing, what is your reading of the India market in that sense, in terms of live commerce, social commerce? What is L'Oreal doing on that front? Are you excited about the prospects here?
There can be different business models on social commerce. The first one can be on the platform itself. So if you look at a market like China, or Indonesia, the TikTok and the commerce there tends to be very, very interesting, and that is a platform commerce. Or there's affiliate commerce with our partners, where it need not be an external platform, but we could be bringing them together. So the expert salon care in India for our professional products division, it happened during the pandemic actually, because during the pandemic, the salons were closed. We had the whole ecosystem of hairstylists, salons, consumers who wanted to connect with each other, who wanted products. And at that point, L'Oreal was the facilitator. What we did was we said, we will provide you a platform in which you can come together, share the products, have the conversation, find something, get it. And that is a business model that is really growing for us. And I think India, what it is doing very well is also because WhatsApp is just for everybody in India.
Absolutely.
So what you call conversational commerce is really growing, and we are working with a lot of our partners to look at what conversational commerce means. How do we empower our BAs to have the conversations, create the relationship, and then be able to sell a product or give an information or offer a service there. And the last point there is that things like live streaming or live shopping are just tools to be able to do that well. And we have learned a lot during the pandemic. Today, if you look at L'Oreal worldwide, we do, I don't know if you can guess, we do more than 10,000 live streams in a year.
Wow.
With some
across
the world, across platforms, but it is live streams that are done with us.
Ours in the country has transformed quite a bit over the past few years. It was, I believe, about 150 to 200 people in the country, and now it has grown to over 1,000 employees. So how does that feel, and what are your growth plans for
I'm very
India
proud
market?
of the local leadership team. They've done a great job over the last 3 years in not only developing the product, but also expanding the breadth of offer that we have in the market. And I think we've done a great job in attracting new and different capability partners into the family, which has really helped our client relationships and created a stickier and deeper relationship with many client partners. So I'm super proud of the team here. I'm super proud of the progress we've made, and it's great to be now a 1,000-member family in India. As you say, we were only 300 a couple of years ago.
Having said that, what will be the key focus areas for HMG in the India market?
The focus for us for the next 3 years are three key areas. In the areas of content, commerce, and developing and building our data practice. And we believe those areas globally and in India are going to be what differentiate us and really help us drive stickier and deeper client relationships.
With that, it's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed all our special stories and conversations in the year gone by. Here is wishing you all a Happy New Year. Goodbye.